I just finished reading Journal of a Trapper by Osborne Russell. We know that Fenn read this book about a dozen times from what he said. While I wouldn't choose it for myself to read, I was interested in reading it because Forrest Fenn was interested in reading it. So, from what I've gathered and the stories Fenn has told, he always loved adventure, and the book is exactly that. I can see why he would enjoy it. The journal covers the same areas, rivers, and lakes of Wyoming and Montana that Forrest Fenn was very fond of. Places where for many years he enjoyed hiking and fishing. I don't think the book necessarily has the answers to where the treasure chest is hidden, but I think it's very possible that Fenn may have used some of the words and ideas from this book for hiding his treasure. In one journal entry, Osborne Russell is out in the middle of nowhere. He wrote about finding a stone jar. He describes it as a stone jar that would contain 3 gallons, neatly cut from a piece of granite, well shaped and smooth. He didn't write anything else about the jar. I would have liked to have heard more about it, but I think Russell finding the jar may have stuck out in Forrest Fenn's mind because we know later on that he went on to make and hide his own jar creations. In one story, Russell Osborne told of the time they came upon a village of Blackfeet Indian. Russell and his camp prepared for a skirmish. He goes on to say the Blackfeet had secreted themselves in the rocks. For the reason I brought this up is because secreted is a word that Forrest has used when describing how he hid his treasure. In another entry, Russell wrote about traveling southwest down Madison Fork about 10 miles when they came to the burnt hole. According to information I found on Yellowstone National Park website, from the lower Geyser Basin, the trappers followed the Firehole River to its junction with the Gibbon River. They identify the burnt hole as the present Madison Valley on the western border of Yellowstone Park. W.A. Ferris in Life in the Rocky Mountains explains the origin of the name was from a large forest fire that had occurred there a few years prior. He uses the word conflagration to describe it. Another word for conflagration is blaze. From Ferris's description, this was a significant fire. We know in his younger years, Forrest spent a great amount of time in West Yellowstone. The town itself is not very big, but there's certainly a lot of places around where a young boy could get lost in adventure. So I think it's very possible that the burnt hole in West Yellowstone could be the location of Forrest Fenn's blaze. Another entry Russell wrote, Major Meek arrived. Russell is referring to Joseph Meek, who was also a well-known mountain man and trapper. In September of 1835, while camping along the Madison River, Meek and Russell's party were ambushed by Indians. Meek was able to save himself by fleeing to the Geyser Basin in Yellowstone. And on page 68, they describe the location where they fought. The Madison, after leaving the mountains, runs westerly to this place, forms a curve, and turning east of north, in which direction it runs, to the junction of 3 forks. Fenn has talked about fishing in this same area. Referring to Joe Meek, is the site of the ambush on the Madison possibly no place for the Meek? What do you think? So hopefully something I've talked about here today will help someone else with their search.